Dan Hooker steps up to take on Islam Makhachev on short notice. Dominick Cruz versus Pedro Munhoz is in the works, and a couple of other big fights have also been made. I thought I'd give my opinion on all of these matchups being announced in today's MMA News reaction video, starting with the breaking news. Dan Hooker steps up on short notice to take on Islam Makhachev at UFC 267. I just feel as though we need to give Dan Hooker full respect here. He's a couple of days removed from his 3-round fight against Nasrat Haqparast at UFC 266. Now he's turning right back around to take on Islam Makhachev in a couple of weeks. And let's not forget, Islam Makhachev is one of the most dangerous guys in the lightweight division. And not only is he one of the most dangerous guys, he's a bad stylistic matchup for Dan Hooker. Islam Makhachev is a grappler. Dan Hooker is a striker. Dan Hooker doesn't like to be taken down. Islam Makhachev likes to take his opponents down. It's a bad matchup for Dan Hooker. He's doing it on short notice. He just went 3 rounds. He's not going to have a good training camp whatsoever. He can't even go back home to CKB to train. I feel as though, and who's with me here, we need to track down Jorge Masvidal, pin him down, take his BMF belt, and just give it to Dan Hooker right now, because this might be one of the most badass moves we've seen in the UFC for a very long time. And Jorge Masvidal, the fucking BMF, calling out Nick Diaz, like, who's the real BMF here? It's Dan Hooker stepping up on short notice against Islam Makhachev. I understand it's not really short notice though. He did have a full training camp for the Nasrat Haqparast fight, but however, if you listen to him, he said it wasn't a good training camp whatsoever. So arguably, he didn't have a good training camp for the Nasrat Haqparast fight. He might as well not even have had a training camp for the Nasrat Haqparast. He just said that he stays in shape, ready to go at all times, and apparently he's ready to go against Islam Makhachev here, but I am very confused by this move, I'll be honest. As much as I love that this fight has been made, and it does save that UFC 267 card, we had Aljamain Sterling fall out, Rafael Dos Anjos, of course, was originally supposed to be taking on Islam Makhachev, had a knee injury, had to pull out as well. I don't understand this move for Dan Hooker. I'm glad it's been added to the card, and the UFC 267 card was falling apart quite quickly, so Dan Hooker has actually saved this card a bit by making this fight happen. I'm assuming no one else wanted to take on Islam Makhachev on short notice. Why would they? A lot of people have trouble signing a fight with Islam Makhachev on a full camp. Not really anyone wants to do it on short notice, but Dan Hooker does so. I just don't think it's a very smart move whatsoever. Maybe he wins this one, and maybe he's so confident in himself that he's going to beat Islam Makhachev, but he's put himself in the worst potential chance to do it. He's made himself in a situation where he has the least possible chance of winning. And I watched an interview with Dan Hooker a couple of days ago. I believe it was the Schmo Zone podcast with the Schmo and Helen Yee. They were taking shots and talking to Alexander Volkanovski and Dan Hooker at the same time. And Dan Hooker literally said on that podcast that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever for him to step in against Islam. He literally said this, word for word. It doesn't make any sense for him whatsoever to take on Islam Makhachev at UFC 267. He would have no training camp. He would have no time to prepare whatsoever. It'd be another bad weight cut. There's no upside for him whatsoever to jump up just one ranking spot to step up on short notice against Islam Makhachev. He spent a solid 5 minutes basically telling us on an interview why it makes literally no sense and doesn't benefit him at all to step up on short notice against Islam Makhachev. 5 minutes he spent literally breaking down every single reason as to why the fight with Islam Makhachev does not make any sense whatsoever. And here we are. Now, I do want to mention this though, and I'm maybe going to go into a bit of a conspiracy theory here before I get into who I think is going to win. He was drinking at the time of answering these questions, and he was sober at the time of answering these questions. I'm not trying to say this is exactly how it went down, but every time I've seen Dan Hooker sober this week, and they've been asking him about stepping in against Makhachev, he has said no. I would not be surprised if Dan Hooker got a call while he was about 10 drinks deep into his evening, and was a little bit drunk, and had a little bit of Dutch courage and thought, you know what, I'm fucking taking it, let it do stand up, hey. I genuinely do believe that maybe he would have been a little bit tipsy at the time that he did answer this fight request. I believe he wants to take on Islam Makhachev, but this just shows how badass Dan Hooker is. He was drinking yesterday, and he's going to be fighting in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, however long away UFC 267 is. It's in Abu Dhabi, so he's got to fly over there maybe. I know he has a gym there. He doesn't have his own gym there, but he has a gym that he was training at after the Michael Chandler loss. If you don't know, he was in Abu Dhabi for a very long time after the Michael Chandler loss, waiting for a flight home at a certain time, and he was training around the area, so I assume he's going to go to a gym there and do some training there, but he's not going to be able to go back to CKB, and he's not going to really be able to grapple with anyone too majorly here either. I don't understand why he's done this. I get it, and it's really badass, but as a fan of Dan Hooker, this is a really silly career move in my opinion. Makhachev's got his training camp sorted, he's got all of his sparring partners every single day, a new set of sparring partners comes in, he's grappling every day, he's striking every day, he's sparring most days as well, I'm sure. He's doing everything perfectly in his own training camp, and you've got Dan Hooker flying about all over the world, literally drinking and partying just yesterday. Now all of a sudden in 4 weeks he's got to fight Islam Makhachev after going 3 rounds with Nasrat Haqparast. He had some bruising, I'm sure. He took a couple of big shots. He went 3 hard rounds with an up-and-comer. And now it's time for him versus Islam Makhachev. I do believe that Dan Hooker's going to have a really good time in this fight. I don't think he's going to win. I think Islam Makhachev is going to beat Dan Hooker. I think Islam Makhachev is going to beat Dan Hooker by a 29-28 unanimous decision. This is a 3-round fight, of course, in the lightweight division. I don't have any issues with Dan Hooker making weight, because if he can make weight after a day after getting off of a plane for his fight with Nasrat Haqparast, I'm sure he can make weight when he's been there for a couple of weeks and he's acclimatized and everything like that. I don't get the move of his career here, but I do believe Islam Makhachev's going to win. I'm going to call a 29-28 decision, but I'm going to call a very, very close decision win for Islam Makhachev that doesn't look too impressive whatsoever. I truly believe that Dan Hooker's going to go out there with some momentum and do some damage to Islam Makhachev. Now, I've seen a lot of people talking online about how badass Dan Hooker is, but then there's another set of comments that are saying Dan Hooker just signed his death wish, Islam Makhachev is about to do a homicide on this guy, another victim for Makhachev. I don't know if people have really been paying attention to Makhachev's career. He doesn't really destroy anyone. I know he has that one-punch KO over Gleison Tibau, but other than that, Islam Makhachev went to a decision with Davy Ramos where he did very well in the 3rd round, but he got dropped to 1 knee in the early rounds of that fight. I believe round 1, Davy Ramos caught him with a check hook. Down goes Makhachev to 1 knee, but he readjusts, he lands some more shots, and barely outstrikes Davy Ramos for the 1st and 2nd round. Then he catches Davy Ramos with a big shot, I believe it was a knee. Ramos goes down, he 10-8s him in the 3rd round. Goes to a decision that's very close, extremely close, against Arman Tsarukyan. Like, it's been a while since Islam Makhachev has destroyed someone, so I definitely don't see him finishing Dan Hooker here. Even against Drew Dober, it took until the 3rd round, and Drew Dober does not have a ground game, really. That's not really his thing. I truly believe Dan Hooker has much better takedown defense than a guy like Drew Dober, and much better grappling awareness and jiu-jitsu than a guy like Drew Dober. And he's longer, he's rangier, so he's going to be a bit more tricky to figure out on the feet. And also, Thiago Moises, for the first 3 rounds of that bout against Islam Makhachev, he was doing okay. Now, I know the strikes are obviously in Makhachev's favour. He won those first 3 rounds. But Moises got a takedown on Makhachev. He landed his own shots on Islam Makhachev. Makhachev controlled Moises against the cage, landed knees to the body over and over again, landed some decent shots at range as well. But he's not dominating these guys really badly and like completely tearing them apart like Khabib was to like Michael Johnson. Taking them down, beating them up badly, finishing them whenever he wants to. There are some hard-fought battles in Islam Makhachev's career, and I truly believe that Dan Hooker's going to test him majorly here. This is a huge test for Islam Makhachev. I just really wish that Dan Hooker wasn't taking this one on short notice. I wish we had a full camp Dan Hooker with 8 weeks of training at CKB with all of the best training partners that he can have. And I wish we would have got to see the best possible Dan Hooker show up, but maybe Dan Hooker sees this in his mind as, it's all stacked against me. I have no pressure here. All of the pressure is on Islam Makhachev. If I lose, it's because I didn't have a training camp. It's because I just took a fight a month before. It's because I rushed this and it shouldn't have been a matchup that I took. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have any grapplers to train with. If Makhachev loses to Dan Hooker here, he's got no excuses at all, and I will mention this as well. Dan Hooker's game plan against Nasrat Haqparast was to grapple. maybe he has been doing some grappling in his training camp for the Nasrat Akparast fight that he's going to try and carry over here against Islam Makhachev. I think it's going to be a very tough fight. I can actually see Dan Hooker going out there and winning the first round. That's my prediction. I believe Dan Hooker's going to go out there, get taken down at the end of the first round, but not get mounted, not get his back taken. He's just going to be taken down, and Makhachev will have some control time at the end of round 1. But I do believe that Dan Hooker's going to win round 1 based on landing more significant strikes on the feet early against Makhachev and doing very well as soon as this fight starts. I think as the rounds go on, Makhachev will start to slightly out-grapple Dan Hooker, win the positional control fights. Dan Hooker will have some moments on the feet where he looks for a knee and it lands to the body and everyone goes, whoa, and Dan Hooker's going to land like a stiff jab at one point and a straight right hand. But Islam Makhachev, so big for the lightweight division, I believe he's going to grab a hold of Dan Hooker, push him up against the cage. It hurts to say this, but this is how he does it, so whatever. He's going to push him up against the cage, knee him on the thigh, hold him up against the cage some more, body lock, hold him up against the cage some more, try and hook a leg to get a takedown and just stay on top for a bit and land some little mini shots of total strikes on Dan Hooker. Couple more knees to the thigh in the second round. Third round comes around. Dan Hooker starts to slow down. Makhachev has a little bit more of a dominant round, but he doesn't like 10-8 Dan Hooker or anything. I believe Makhachev's going to win this one 29-28 based on the last 2 rounds. But respect for Dan Hooker saving this card. He's locked out of New Zealand permanently now. That needs to be mentioned. I believe Dan Hooker's move here has made CKB permanently move to America now. He's left. He can't get back into New Zealand now. That's it. He's made that sacrifice to take on Islam Makhachev. And I assume if he wins, they've got to give him a title elimination bout. Maybe even the Beneil Dariush fight afterwards for a title elimination bout. But man, respect to Dan Hooker. Respect. But Makhachev's going to win. You shouldn't have taken this bout. If I was Dan Hooker's manager, I would say, what the fuck are you talking about? You're taking on Islam Makhachev in 3 weeks. You didn't even have a training camp for your last fucking fight, and you can't have a training camp now. Of course you're not taking on Islam Makhachev in 3 weeks. But apparently Dan Hooker is taking on Islam Makhachev. And he can fly back to New Zealand and get his job done. Anyway, looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes. Moving on to another fight that's been made. Dominick Cruz versus Pedro Munhoz has been signed as in the works. It's not official yet. I was confused by this because Dominick Cruz responded to a message by Sean O'Malley calling him out by saying, I've already got a matchup signed against a much higher guy in the division, a much higher ranked guy in the division. Sorry, I just swallowed something there for some reason. Maybe a tooth. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Feel like Anthony Smith right now. Either way, Dominick Cruz said to Sean O'Malley on Twitter, I've already got a fight signed against a higher ranked opponent, and for a second, I thought he was talking about TJ Dillashaw. Dillashaw's going to be out for a bit of time. The title fights are going to take a long time to figure out before Dillashaw gets a shot, so Dillashaw might take another fight in the meantime once he's healthy, just to stay active and redeem himself against Dominick Cruz, because I assumed that when Pedro Munhoz told us that he was moving down to flyweight, but apparently a fight with Dominick Cruz changes things for Pedro Munhoz. He likes the idea of that matchup. I will be going with Pedro Munhoz here. I think he's going to calf kick the fuck out of Dominick Cruz. And Dominick Cruz, although he may be back and he may have got a win against Casey Kenny, he beat Casey Kenny less clearly than Song Yudong beat Casey Kenny. You know? So I don't know how this is going to go for him. I think Pedro Munhoz is tough. He walks you down. He's very simple, so maybe there is a chance that Dominick Cruz could do his thing against Pedro Munhoz. Cruz can't mix in takedowns here because he will get submitted by Pedro Munhoz. No one in the division wants to take down Pedro Munhoz whatsoever. It's like a death wish. He actually has some really insane BJJ. He's basically the Brian Ortega of the bantamweight division. Super tough, forward pressure, good chin, and he just has great submissions off of his back that mean that you can't take him down to alleviate pressure. I truly believe that Pedro Munhoz is going to chop at Dominick Cruz's calves, stop the footwork, and start landing some big shots against Dominick Cruz. But I would not be surprised if Cruz somehow pulls this one off, though. Very close fight. I'm edging the way of Pedro Munhoz here. I know he didn't look too great against Jose Aldo, but he could have won the first round, and I just feel as though Dominick Cruz, that performance against Casey Kenny, it shows me that he's still somewhat got it. But that's not the kind of performance that I need to see to tell me that you're still Dominick Cruz that's going to move on up the bantamweight division and take the title again. We'll see what happens after this one. If I was Dominick Cruz and I won this fight against Pedro Munhoz, I would call out TJ Dillashaw for a rematch. He's going to be out for a long time. The title fight's going to take ages to figure out because of Aljamain Sterling. So I think Dominick Cruz, if he wins this one, call out TJ Dillashaw. Same situation for Pedro Munhoz as well. And obviously Dominick Cruz is looking at this matchup as a case of, he's a higher ranked guy, he moves me towards a title shot, and he beat Garbrandt in the first round, and he beat Rob Font in the first round, which people forget about. He guillotined Rob Font in the first round after dropping him. So Dominick Cruz is going to look to jump the line here, take on Munhoz. Good matchup. Good to see Dominick Cruz back. It's on a good card as well. I believe it's on the UFC 269 card in December. Very good stuff. And moving on to some other fights that have been made as well that I thought I'd break down. Darren Elkins versus Cub Swanson. Great matchup in the featherweight division. Two old-timers going at it. I'm going to go with Cub Swanson here, but Darren Elkins is always tough. Got to watch out for the damage. Coming off a good win against Darrick Minner in the featherweight division. Now he's looking to take on Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson coming off that loss to Giga Chikadze, I believe. Or was it? I don't know. I think he beat Daniel Pineda maybe afterwards. I don't even know what happened. No, he beat Daniel Pineda. Then he lost to Giga Chikadze with the Giga kick. Now he's taking on Darren Elkins. I actually like this matchup for Cub Swanson. I do believe he's going to win this one over the 3 rounds, but I expect an absolute war. I just don't see Darren Elkins out grappling him. Don't see Darren Elkins KOing Cub Swanson. I see Cub Swanson just pelting bombs at Darren Elkins' face for over 3 rounds and winning an absolute barn burner of a scrap between the pair of them. Going with Cub Swanson here. I'm just glad to see that Cub Swanson is not being fed to some other up-and-comer like, oh, Cub Swanson, want to take on Ilia Topuria or Movsar Evloev? What do you want? You know what I mean? Like, it's good to see Cub Swanson get a bit of a payday for once. We'll see how this fight goes. Good matchup on December the 18th at the end of the year, just before Christmas. You've also got Thiago Moises, former guy who lost to Islam Makhachev last, taking on Yoel Alvarez. A lot of people don't really know who Yoel Alvarez is because he's not too active and he does miss weight a lot as well, which pulls him off of certain cards. I really like Yoel Alvarez's chances here. I'm going to go with him. Massive guy for the division. I think better stand-up than Thiago Moises. Nasty, nasty calf kicks and leg kicks as well. Very good range keeping. Really good grappling skills. Got a nasty guillotine. I don't see Moises shooting for takedowns on him. I see a stand-up bout, and Yoel Alvarez is bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. I think he's better on the feet. I'm going to go with Yoel Alvarez here against Thiago Moises, but that's set for November the 13th. Great matchup. Yoel Alvarez finally gets his jump up. He beat Joe Duffy. Wasn't really a great win, but you know, he lost to Damir Ismagulov at one point, but that was a prime Damir Ismagulov, who's a very good contender in the lightweight division right now, who I believe should be ranked because he beat fucking... Who'd he beat? He beat Thiago Moises. That's who he beat. He beat Thiago Moises by unanimous decision. It gets Makhachev ranked number 5. It don't even fucking get Damir Ismagulov ranked. Either way, going with Yoel Alvarez. Good contender to watch out for, but can he fucking make weight for once? That's the question we're waiting for, Yoel Alvarez. We'll see how it goes. Another fight that's been made. Rodolfo Vieira versus Wellington Turman. I don't really give a fuck. But it's been made, and I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira. Wellington fucking Puffy Nips McGee Turman is not going to get this one done against Rodolfo Vieira. Don't see him out grappling him. Don't see him out striking him. Rodolfo Vieira's jab looked good in his last fight. Looked like he addressed his cardio issues as well. I can see Rodolfo Vieira getting this one done by submission, unless he gets eye-poked 10 times over like Wellington Turman did to Sam Alvey. We'll see how it goes, though. I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira there, getting a submission on Wellington Turman. And that's that. Craziness. MMA. I love this sport. No other sport do you get this crazy news out of nowhere that a top contender is stepping in against another top contender on short notice. Really looking forward to Dan Hooker versus Islam Makhachev. I've got Makhachev winning, but respect to Dan Hooker, you've got to. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.